It is January 28th, 2022. It is Royal Rumble Eve, and this is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Christy Olson, former WWE NXT announcer. And tonight, we're going to talk all about SmackDown and Rampage. The Royal Rumble is tomorrow, the premium live event. Christy, are you excited?
Yay, I am excited, Glenn. It's one of my favorite, flagship pay-per-views of the year. Not just because, I know it's everybody's favorite, but for me, it's about the fact that 30 superstars are going to get a chance to shine in one match, 60 total. And they're telling some really great backstories this year where I feel like we're going to get some payoff to some little Easter eggs that have been left here and there for us the last few weeks. So I'm really excited. It kind of feels like anything could happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel like they've really laid some groundwork for this event, and there's a lot of stories going in. I think that it's almost been to the detriment of some of the weekly programming as of late. They've been so busy layering this story that is going to get a payoff tomorrow night that we've maybe sacrificed some short-term storytelling as a result of that.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. I won't disagree with that. But on that note, that kind of makes me think about what will be to come after Saturday, and so that means a fresh start. If we get if we get everything that we've been promised for the last few weeks, then some superstars can reset. Now maybe will be some new feuds too that kick off tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's interesting tonight. I don't think Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn are going to be done after tomorrow night. I like how they're taking Naomi and Sonya and running that as a story through the Rumble. I'm sure that will continue as well. And I feel like there's just a lot of groundwork, and then we're going to have, a major championship match tomorrow as well. So it's exciting. But do you feel like with the Saturday event for WWE, we're so used to the go home having a little bit of a break, like you want to build anticipation, but now I almost worry that, tonight was almost not destined to fail, but destined to just be like, it's like getting to open one present Christmas Eve, knowing that the next day is going to be spectacular.
Right. Yeah. Like it's almost a throwaway show, which you never want that to be the attitude about anything that you're making money on, for sure. So yeah, it sort of feels like any buzz that they could create tonight doesn't even really have enough time to reach any potential viewers for tomorrow. Right. So I agree with you on that one. And also we're just so conditioned to a Sunday pay-per-view. This isn't the first Saturday one by any means, but I just cannot get used to it.
Yeah, it's going to take some adjusting, and not saying pay-per-view anymore. Premium live event.
Shame on me.
I know. Well, it's like dropping hospital instead of local medical facility.
Oh my gosh. Belt instead of championship. I would never.
Oh, love it. So let's dive in and start with SmackDown tonight, and then we'll preview the Rumble card after that before we talk about the Rampage tonight. But we did open with Charlotte Flair, and this was a really nice segment in how they layered this with Shayna Baszler coming out, with Aaliyah coming out, with Natalya coming out, and Shotzi coming out. What do you think in general of these sort of round robin canon style promos where everybody gets to jump in and yes and?
Normally it feels cliche, and it is something that we could almost predict for the night that's what we're going to get leading into the Royal Rumble. But in this instance, everything that each of the women had to say seemed important. Right. We talk about it maybe feeling like a throwaway show, but this really did something to set up, some emotion for Saturday. And I really loved what Charlotte had to say. It again made you feel like sort of anything can happen. Yeah. And, I know Shayna's new music fell a little flat to some people from what I was reading online, but, Shayna Baszler is not going to be about the music. She's not going to be about the entrance. She's going to be about what she does on Saturday. And we were reminded by that tonight.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then we did also have the headline return of Sasha Banks coming out tonight. And that's interesting too, because that seems like a return they would save for the Rumble, but it's that sort of, we have to cover our bases and let people know she's going to be there.
Yeah, especially I think because there was so much coverage. People were so sure that she wasn't going to be back in time for the Rumble. Yeah. Also interesting though that they felt like they needed to tell us that, right? Did they feel like maybe there wasn't enough other strong storyline or strong headlines for the women's battle royal? Why? Or for the women's Royal Rumble? Why did they feel like they needed to tell us that Sasha was going to be back instead of letting it be a surprise?
Well, and I wonder if they did this tonight to whet people's appetite. I mean, we've heard the rumors about Asuka being in the Rumble, about even Ronda Rousey making a return. I still think the Bailey thing has been a fake out when they've been saying, oh, she won't be back till March. I think that's to misdirect us for a surprise Rumble appearance.
Oh, okay. So you still have your money on Bailey making an appearance tomorrow as well, huh?
I don't trust anything anymore. How's this work for you, Christy? Because for you, having been inside, is it like everything's a work at a certain point? Like you just don't know what to believe?
I guess to an extent, yes, I am always suspicious of everything. And I usually think that I'm like, oh, I know why they did that. I could tell you why that had to happen. You know what I mean? But as it's been longer and longer that I've been out, I've been able to sort of put that away and kind of put my fun fan goggles on again. While watching.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I'm excited about that. I'm more excited about the women's rumble than the men's, just because I think of that air of unpredictability. And then plus when we're gonna have Mickie James appearing, I mean, I think it really sets there's some interesting, there could be some really interesting directions things could go in tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure. And also, again, with all kind of the B storylines, I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what goes on between Summer Rae and Natty. Those
Yeah.
are two superstars who normally don't usually have our eyes by any means, and of course we haven't even seen Summer for a couple of years. So again, it's those little things. It's the seemed like they were planting some seeds tonight about Bianca possibly being one of only the fourth person ever, right, to win the Royal Rumble twice in a row. So there are just so many possibilities.
Yeah, it could be really interesting to see what happens with all of this. And I like all the different storylines they have. I like the Lita's going to be back. I'm just looking forward to it tomorrow night. And I'm not even doing the podcast tomorrow, and I'm going to be watching the Rumble just because it's one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. And I think the women's Rumbles thus far have all been very special in how they've been presented and booked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not just the women, but the men as well, and all the other matches on this card. It sort of feels like you do have to tune in live because you're not going to want any of this to be spoiled, right? I know there's a lot of questions about Brock Lesnar and who will end up being champions by the end of the night by the men's Royal Rumble. And I'm just anything could happen, Glenn.
I know. Well, I'm trying to suspend disbelief about Seth versus Roman. I don't know.
Yeah, I really like to see what everybody thinks. So I kind of like to dive into fan predictions and that kind of thing. And I read some pretty strong cases today for Seth possibly winning that match, and the way they've been setting it up as well. I mean, is there anyone else who could do it and have it still work with everything they're doing with Roman? Not really. So again, let's put that disbelief way, way up there. Suspend it high, Glenn, because you might not even you might not need it on Saturday.
Although, maybe every time they start talking about how long someone's been champion and they're about to reach a milestone or just reached a milestone, I always feel like that signals, okay, they wanted to get it in the books and now it's time for a change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And again, does Roman Reigns need a championship? I mean, I think Brock Lesnar needs one even less, but we're all looking forward to that match, regardless if there are championships involved or not.
Yeah, and I think this was very interesting. I think there's a lot of different ways this could go with the Women's Rumble based on this promo. We'll talk later about who our picks are specifically for these, but I mean, it was nice seeing Sasha and Charlotte face off in the ring again, and I thought the promos tonight were really good. I think the women's division on SmackDown, given how they're booked, just baffles me sometimes, given how much talent there is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you looked at those women in the ring tonight and kind of felt like, wow, not only do they all deserve to be there, not that it's for me to decide who deserves to be there, but those are some well-earned spots.
Yeah. And then it's interesting because then we contrast this, it's followed up by Ridge Holland and Sheamus versus Cesaro and Ricochet. And I don't know, how are you feeling about Ridge Holland?
He's serving his purpose, right? He understands the assignment, Ridge does.
Yeah.
And we finally got some blow off tonight. As far as this possibly being a throwaway show, that was a long-term storyline that we saw happening between him and Ricochet and the nose breaking and the whole thing. And this was a payoff to that tonight. So it did feel kind of valuable. I like Ridge, and I think it's pretty clear that the brass, as they say backstage, are pretty high on him too, and I can see why.
I still don't get how they screwed up Ricochet on the main roster.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I see what you mean. When you watch him, it hasn't broken his spirit. All the potential that he had is still there. So I think I just always kind of have my hopes high that maybe they will put the faith in him that we all think they should have in him. Do you think that maybe this could be his chance now? Now that the whole Ridge Holland thing is sort of put to rest, like what's next for Ricochet? Is it tomorrow?
I don't know if maybe. Look, just in terms of pure in-ring performance, I still think no one can touch him in WWE. And even I would put him toe-to-toe against the best of AEW or any other promotion. Like, that's never been his shortcomings. And even his entrance, his music, like, that's all there. It's just, I think being an exceptionally gifted athlete, unfortunately, like, that's not enough to be your character in this modern age. And I just feel like that's where he's never broken through to become a true superstar.
That's true. It is enough to make people just like him and want him and probably buy his shirts. And so, again, that potential is always there for him.
Yeah. But it's like figure skating, right? It's like you look at the Olympics every year and you have very talented figure skaters, but the ones that we talk about are like the Johnny Weirs, are the skaters that have more personality, stand out more, because if you train hard enough and you've been doing this for long enough, anyone can go out there and do a technically superior performance. It's that pizzazz, the razzmatazz, for lack of a better word, that I think really puts you over.
So do you feel that Ricochet doesn't have that, or he just hasn't been given the opportunity to show that?
I feel like he's had that. And then I think it's unfortunate. And again, I never blame the performers. This is entirely on creative. Right. I feel like the promos that they gave him early on just set him up to fail. Like, there was no meat on the bone. It was just like, oh, this is a guy that's got the cheat codes. He's like a walking superhero. It was just all little sound bites on commentary. But then when he would talk, there was just no substance that really made you believe.
Yeah, he maybe could have benefited from a little more time at NXT.
Yeah.
I think just for the audience sake, for fans to get to know him better, get behind him more, get to see more of what he can do. And if he maybe would have been given some bigger opportunities down there, that could have given him a chance to prove himself.
And looking at it now, given where NXT 2.0 is at versus where NXT used to be, I would say that the old NXT, your character didn't have to necessarily develop beyond just being an amazing athlete and a gifted performer in the ring. And that's why we saw some of the biggest successes on the main roster from NXT, guys like Elias, people who came up without necessarily getting over in NXT because their wrestling wasn't next level. Those characters worked better on the main roster, whereas the more gifted and proficient athletes came up to the main roster and it was very hit or miss.
Yeah, that's true, because the NXT audience has always been the more tuned in fans, the smarter fans, if you will, and unfortunately for them, the older fans as well.
Yeah, which is why Tony D'Angelo, the complete package. He's got the character, he's got the in-ring ability, he's going places.
Woo-hoo.
So, I wish I could get more excited about Ridge Holland and Sheamus versus Cesaro and Ricochet. Love Cesaro. I feel, it's just he's at the good hand phase of his career.
Yeah, and anytime that Cesaro and Sheamus get in the ring together, it's not that it bores me or that I think, oh, we've seen this more a million bajillion times. I just think, how do they even get excited about that anymore? You know what I mean? I'm always looking for are they doing little things to try to pop each other, or, are they messing with each other in the ring? Because they just must be so bored doing the same things over and over. And now, they're doing it at the expense of putting over the younger guys too. So I don't know. That almost adds more insult to injury. I don't know.
That's why I miss house shows. I miss watching wrestlers amuse themselves.
Yes.
There's something to be said for that. You can't get away with it on weekly television, unfortunately, as much. But okay, so high point is tonight. We finally had Naomi versus Sonya Deville in a fair, legitimate match for Naomi to get her win. What did you think about this and seeing Sonya back wrestling after such a long break?
I was really looking forward to this one, but I have to say, I the whole idea that Sonya is now a chicken shit heel,
Yeah.
of course I can get on board with that. It makes sense in the story. It makes sense the fact that she is now, an executive and has some power behind the scenes or whatever it may be. But I just don't believe Sonya Deville being scared of anyone.
Yeah.
You can't just kind of shove it down our throats for years and like, she's a badass. We've seen her be a badass. We've heard her speak like a badass and just terrorize every opponent she's ever been in the ring with. And now all of a sudden she's afraid of a little glow. I just, that just bothered me. I just wasn't buying that. So to finally get the payoff of a match was great. And again, it started off with her kind of dodging and ducking Naomi. And I can't get into that. Once she started really kicking her butt and doing kind of the dirty stuff outside the ring, that kind of thing, I really got into it. And I think it made both of these women look strong. This could have very easily been something where we look at it and go, well, where does Sonya go from here now? So now is she just a general manager type now? Is she just going to be a manager? What is that? So at least this gave us some hope for her future, and it made Naomi continue to look strong, and everybody loves her. And I think this show tonight needed just a feel good win win one for the audience, right? One for the fans.
Yeah. Naomi is fantastic, and I love seeing her get that win tonight. With Sonya, I don't feel that they've ever really fleshed out what her issue is with Naomi.
Right.
And I don't know, and the surface of it, I mean, it seems kind of thin. But I almost wonder if we're going to see her start to abuse her power more and maybe do more of a storyline with this, because we were actually talking about this, Issa and I, in our Yellow Jackets podcast. We're saying, there's nothing scarier than when someone feels like they have a lot of power and control over a group and they start to lose that. They become very unpredictable. So I like the idea that maybe Sonya is going to be set off a little bit and start making some weird booking decisions and start doing some things that's going to get her ousted, but turn her into just a monster heel.
Yeah, like she's going to start to unravel a little bit.
Yeah.
Because of all this, I like that. And she could definitely pull that off so well. And that could get her back to, that unstoppable force in the ring, which is what we know she really is. But man, she's killing it in the position she's in now too. That I could really see them saying, no, we're going to keep you here for a while just because you're so darn good at it.
She definitely is, although she's going to be one of the GMs in the new WWE game. So what better time than to strip her of that position than right before the game comes out?
Right? A lot of buzz about that, though. I saw people kind of really like being a little wowed by the footage that they saw in the promo. What was it? The broadcast premiere of the trailer or whatever it was. They did a good job of making a big deal out of that. And it looks like fun. I'm not a gamer, but I think people are excited about it.
The trailers are always A+. The games are always much lower down the grade scale. Oh, and I wish the people that were in charge of the trailers were working at WWE Creative,
right?
Because they just put out some of the best WWE content every year in those trailers. So we'll see what happens. But no, I like that idea, and I like that announcing that they're going to be in the Rumble tomorrow night. That's there's a good way to continue this, and I wonder if Sonya can use or abuse some of her power in the Rumble match, because that could allow for some more interesting storytelling opportunities.
Yeah, if she's at least got one or two superstars in her pocket or something, if she tries to pull some strings with the ref, there are a lot of possibilities there. And man, the women's Rumble is so boiling over with stories. It's like, I hope they give it the time that it all needs so that we can get the satisfied payoff from all of that,
Yeah, we'll see. I'm really looking forward to it, though, and I love this match tonight, but this is definitely not the end for them, and I just want Naomi to get another run with the title and just get more TV time to really showcase what she can do, because she's such an incredible performer. Everyone's behind her character. And at the Rumble, I mean, you've seen it in years past where she was trending and attracting non-wrestling fans to pay attention. So, in my mind, she's always a safe bet to steal the show.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the most valuable things you can do there is make the mainstream news, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe she'll have to land on Sonya outside of the ring to keep her from hitting the ground.
I love it.
So yeah, this is good tonight. But I couldn't believe it when Naomi said, "You've been tormenting me for 153 days." I swear.
You're like, really? It's been that long and we still haven't gotten really an explanation as to what's going on here?
I felt like the storyline started back in my 20s. It's been going on a very long time. And it's crazy when you think about it, right? Because what's the average? I don't know what the average life cycle is of a WWE feud, but 153 days seems excessive to just now get to an actual match.
Right. Yeah, I guess that shows you how much faith they have in both Sonya and Naomi, that they would keep it going.
See, that's the glass half full. My idea is like they forgot this was going on, and then every couple weeks they're like, "Oh yeah, we should do something with that." Or Sonya should be mean to her again. Write that in for tonight.
Write that down.
Yeah, can't give them a match, but let's just have another altercation. We have the Usos backstage and worried about being banned from ringside during Rollins versus Roman's reign at the Rumble, and the Viking Raiders walk up. Usos acknowledge them as their new challengers. What do you think of the Viking Raiders?
They're fun, but what about beyond that? Again, we never blame the performers. We don't blame the talent. We just feel like we haven't seen what those guys can do yet. I think that the more opportunities they have to talk and show what they can do on the mic, the more faith that would be put in them, because they have this great look and it's all about coming out and banging the chest and all that. But then you hear them and you see them in a backstage interview situation like that, and with the Usos, and it's like, I think they can be funny, they can be dramatic, like those two can do a lot, and I'm wondering if now putting them in the picture with the Usos is how they will finally maybe get to show off what they can do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if they can make them a little more credible, get away from the days of doing the silly vignettes. And whatnot. Oh, and then we had Sami Zayn, who let everyone know that In Zayn has now been repackaged as a podcast.
Because that's what we all want. Another wrestling podcast.
I would listen to Sami Zayn in character or out of character doing a podcast. That would be fascinating.
She would probably learn something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But tonight, his guests were Jinder Mahal and Shanky, and he was, of course, interrupted by Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura. Fans were chanting for Johnny Knoxville. We did have Boogs and Shinsuke come out and lead to a match between them. Yeah. How are you feeling about the Jinder Shanky pairing? I feel like they've gotten a lot of TV time without much development.
They have. And that Shanky, right? It just always feels weird saying it. Shanky, he is such a specimen. He is so wow. He could just stand there and I think people would kind of be enamored with him. But then when he gets an opportunity to really show what he could do in the ring, like he did tonight as well, I love that he's one of those guys who he makes everybody look good. When you're that big, if anyone can get any kind of offense in on you, you look good. And the pairing with Jinder really works. Jinder needed something new, fresh, fun. I think we just we all think of, his championship run and the Singh brothers and all of that when you think of Jinder Mahal. And perhaps with Shanky by his side, maybe there's kind of a new era of Jinder coming in.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because as part of his podcast, Sammy's asking them questions, and they're talking about how big Jackass is in India, and Shanky loving the bungee porta potty. And what's interesting? So, we talked on this podcast just about, like you said, the sort of the phonetics of Shanky to the American vernacular. And it was actually a fan of this podcast that tipped me off to Shanky meaning the key to success as a name of Indian origin. And it's actually kind of amazing that they had this opportunity tonight where they're talking and Jinder's not putting him over and saying like, well, this guy is going to be the key to our success as a tag team, and kind of making the name cool, because I think, phonetically to the ear, it does sound like a funny word in English, as many names do. But it's amazing to me they had an opportunity to really put him over tonight, and they didn't do that with that simple explanation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't have, man, that's going in deep. I wouldn't have made note of all that, but yeah, you're right.
I just think about, you have this time. I mean, and I'm sure you can appreciate this. It's like you're on nationally broadcast television.
Right.
You've got 30 seconds to develop a character, and instead, oh, is Jackass big in India? As opposed to like, let's just do something to forward this. And I feel it's been a victim of the promos. I mean, their promo against Hit Row was super cringe. I feel like they just haven't given them a good opportunity to really be put over as credible. And I mean, and they both have the look, and Jinder is a former champion. I don't know. It was interesting tonight to just see that that's the direction it went with this. And then it turned into the match with Shinsuke and Rick versus Jinder and Shanky, with Boogs and Shinsuke getting the win.
Yeah, and man, doesn't that just seem like Vince is sitting somewhere in a room of all the guys that he could just write and come up with in his head? It would be just exactly this, right? Yeah, just all of those guys are such huge personalities, and endearing the fans to someone like Shanky means they have to get to know him. Like you said, instead of just Jinder telling everybody that he's going to make them a winning team, we are reminded, oh yeah, he's from India. Oh, he loves Jackass. Oh, now I feel like I know this guy a little bit. I can root for him. So I love that. But I just think, man, this was just meant to be gold, Boogs and Shinsuke, and then those two. It's like, this is just good, fun Friday night SmackDown fun.
I'm amazed they haven't broken Boogs and Shinsuke up yet, because I feel like that feud is going to be money.
Well, yeah, and just because people are so into Boogs, and it just seems like Shinsuke never seemed like someone who would need a Boogs. But it is working out so well with the two of them together. I'm looking forward to the breakup as well. But I don't know that I wouldn't assume that they see Boogs getting a lot of fans and having, signs in the audience and all that, people loving what he does on the guitar and on the mic. I don't know that they necessarily see that as translating to huge in-ring superstar. Yeah. You know what I mean? He may be a bit pigeonholed, and who knows if he'll ever really get an opportunity to do more really than what he's giving us now, because everybody loves it so much. It's working so well. Yeah.
And I think having the audiences back, it's a time when it's like, let's keep him as the hype man and just really getting the crowd amped. It definitely works for that very, very well.
Yeah.
So we went from that to the New Day. So Big E tonight with Kofi Kingston on SmackDown, going up against Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, and getting that win. How's Madcap Moss playing for you as a character?
Oh gosh, I just it's always kind of a bit of a shock to my system, because I just watched so many Riddick Moss matches. When I was there over and over, so many. So I just know what he used to give, and what he's giving now is just so different from who I ever even thought he was or could be as a character, that I'm kind of always just blown away by it. And yeah, he's funny, and then he's got the look, and then he does what he does in the ring, and like I said, how he's really adapted that to fit his character. I mean, it's all working a lot. Didn't it just seem like it was going to be a one or two one-off, one week, 2 weeks, where it was maybe going to be funny or cute, or that this was going to be something he was going to do and then maybe get released, and now it's turned into this huge thing that gets him on TV every week, and that people are definitely talking about. So I mean, he's doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, his commitment to it, this is almost becoming Andy Kaufman-esque anti-comedy. I'm still not saying it's not funny yet, in my mind, but the fact that they're just so committed to this is remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah, and then again, that it wouldn't work without that, right? It would be too much of a joke without that. The fact that they believe it, like you think that they go skipping backstage and then behave this way for the rest of the evening when the cameras aren't on, right? Like I would believe that if I didn't know better.
And maybe part of it, Issa always brings this up. We really loved down on his luck Baron Corbin so much as a character that I feel that Moss is almost like taking that away from us in a weird way.
You blame him.
I do.
Blame
I like.
Madcap.
Yeah, I kind of. It's kind of like your parents get divorced and then you blame your dad's new girlfriend for ruining the marriage, even though she had nothing to do with it. You're just kind of like this. Well, I just want my mom and dad back together. That's all I want. It's never going to happen, and so I resent her. That's
Right.
what it is. Yeah.
I mean, I think anything could send Happy Corbin back to the depths of despair.
Fingers crossed.
You never
Let's
know.
hope.
You never know.
But it's good to see. I mean, okay, so Biggie with
he was telling Kayla in a little like backstage promo after the show that he is officially on SmackDown now.
Yeah,
he has been traded to SmackDown.
So is the Biggie singles run over?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all kind of have been disappointed. Our disappointment bucket is full in that realm anyway, right? So like they have to do something. Yeah, I think it is. But you know what? He seemed happy tonight. He seemed to be enjoying being back in the ring with Kofi and all of that. And anything that they give him, whatever position they put him in, he's going to make himself lovable. We're still going to cheer for him. So I don't know. Now that you pointed that out again, it does make me kind of sad. Aww.
It's like we spent 5 years pining for the Big E singles run again and him getting a championship. And then we got the reality. It's kind of like how I feel like my generation, we spent 20 years wanting Bill and Ted 3 to happen. And then it happened and it came out and we watched it and it was over very quick. And then we kind of just forgot about it and went back to thinking, oh, the idea was maybe better in our heads than the actual reality of it. Right. Big E singles run was good, but this isn't how I wanted it all to end up.
Well, yeah, and now, of course, with it being the Royal Rumble, like it just feels like we need to be given the same thing we're given every year. And then it's Kofi and it's him. And it just, I guess we shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But shame on us for getting our hopes up. I know. We should have known better.
I was being a WWE fan. I mean,
our live listeners and viewers tonight are sort of split too in how pessimistic and optimistic they are as far as Big E.
I just look at it and you think about it, and I guess it's one of those be glad that it happened, not sorry that it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, and someday when he has another championship title run, then it'll just be that's just adding to his numbers, right? He's been champion X number of times, and I'm sure it's going to happen again. Maybe he'll win the Royal Rumble. Who knows?
Maybe. It'll be very interesting to see where that goes. And then we have this main event segment tonight with Rollins and Reigns. And can anyone conjure up a fake laugh that could not sound more forced than Seth Rollins?
Oh, but he's so good at making you cringe and being slimy. And it's just like the beard and it's like, I know he's this nice, decent guy and he's given us such different characters in the past. And this is just so believable. Like, you're just like, ew, shut up. Like really get that visceral reaction from looking at him and watching him like, ugh, really? Becky Lynch goes home to you? Really? Ugh. And I think that is exactly what he's trying to evoke from people. So it's working.
That would actually make it better if it was like backstage and they're all having a party and then Becky's there being cool and everyone is just like this guy, really?
Really?
But this was good tonight, and I like how he was kind of saying like to Roman, like, I made you by with the chair and everything that happened to us in the past. And I mean, they're really building him up. I mean, his confidence, and to Seth Rollins' credit, I mean, he like is so good at turning this on, and there is no flinching, no wavering. He's there in front of that crowd and they're all kind of cringing and he's just going with it like he's the superstar of the world,
Yeah, and when he did start talking, you go, oh yeah, that's right. oh, it did seem like you were the chosen one at first. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you did Roman Reigns WrestleMania moment. Like, his family's still mad about that.
Yeah.
It's like as he kept talking, again, the things that he was saying were so legit and it's so believable that you go, oh, does he really have a chance tomorrow? I mean, that was exactly the kind of promo, the kind of history that you need between two competitors to really build up what's going to go down tomorrow. Like it really, it couldn't have been any better for a main event for a go home.
No, and I did love this, even though I do not think Rollins is winning tomorrow night. I love that Reigns went for the Superman punch and Rollins ducked it and got out of there.
Yes. That was surprising, right? Again, it's like, you're like, wait, is this the guy that really can get into Roman's head? Like, is this what it'll take? It's not just about being the strongest competitor. Like, nobody can take Roman Reigns down. No one can take his championship away. But wait a minute. What about that guy on the Shield and the history and the story and I don't know. I don't know.
And I still don't discount some outside interference or something. Like, there's a lot of ways Rollins can get that title without having to win clean.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. And ways that don't make Roman look any weaker or take anything away from him.
I guess that's the question though. I mean, so before we get into the Royal Rumble prediction, do you think there are two main events for each championship at WrestleMania this year on the men's side that really makes sense?
I was thinking about that. It's not like WWE to like pigeonhole themselves that much in giving us that much of the rules and that much of the explanation. It does make you question. I was thinking about that tonight. I'm like, how many main events are? And then, so that's definitely going to be the main event. And then what about over here? What about the women? And I think that just makes me think that it's going to be a whole thing. There's going to be some kind of gimmick related to, the main event and who's on first and who's choosing what.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's like too much information. And when they give us too much information, shady. So sus.
I feel like the last couple of years, there's this pie in the sky idea of, The Rock's going to come back and we'll have The Rock versus Roman, and that will be the WrestleMania main event. And that doesn't happen. And then it's, oh shit, we have to now figure out who Roman's opponent's going to be at WrestleMania.
Right? Like, they really want to hold out hope. Like, they're like, we know he has a movie. We know he's scheduled. We know we can't get him for 5 years. But like, maybe if we promote it and then make the fans think, and then the fans will ask him and bother about it. And maybe he'll maybe. No.
Yeah.
No. He's not coming. He's busy. And he's only going to get busier when he runs for president. Come on.
That's true. It's true. But yeah, I mean, Roman versus Brock, even that, they've already done that to death, it feels like. So I don't know. I don't think
it does.
Let me put it this way. I think there's a lot of matches they could put together that will please the fans, but I don't know that if Ronda is back and Ronda versus Becky one-on-one, that's going to be the match everyone's talking about. And that's going to be the attention grabbing main event for WrestleMania.
True. And they would know by now whether they have that or not, whether they have Ronda for Mania and whether that's the plan or not. So,
which is unfortunate to whatever the other women's championship matches, because it's going to be very overshadowed by that.
Yeah. But that's kind of what Ronda's done to the women's division.
I know.
And I know there's arguments for that. That's good. That's a good thing, and that it's a bad thing. But man, I guess that's part of what comes along with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. So, who is your pick tomorrow? Let's start with Roman versus Seth for the WWE Universal Championship.
I really think that there are some possibilities here for Seth to take it. And I think that's how they really keep people talking, and how they, we kind of think we've got it all figured out for Mania already, and they're not even officially on the road to WrestleMania yet. Yeah. So, I think it might be a good idea to have Seth win tomorrow, and I have faith that could happen. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say it could happen. I'm going to put my money on Seth. I think he's pretty conniving these days, and he might be able to pull something out of his hat.
And then what about Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maurice?
Oh, Edge and Beth have to take this one for a plethora of reasons. I think that perhaps it'll open the show.
Yeah.
Right? Is that a pretty safe assumption? Yeah. And that it'll be messy and that the Miz and Maurice will definitely get what's coming to them and we will all rejoice.
No, absolutely. Becky Lynch versus Doudrop for the Raw Women's Championship.
So Becky's going to take this one, but again, I still want to watch it. I'm still going to be rooting for Doudrop, even though I don't think she could win at all, which says more than maybe if we actually thought she could win. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're still have my eyes on that one.
I think that could end up being a great match. I hope we see the return of Piper Niven in this match, but I think if Doudrop wrestles with that intensity, I think this could be a great match.
Yeah, she can get people talking either way. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship.
That's another one that I think is a bigger question mark than people will assume. Does Brock Lesnar need a championship? Not at all. Does he need it to have a match that everyone will talk about at WrestleMania? Not at all. Yeah. Does Bobby Lashley need the championship? Yeah, he kind of does. And he's the one who's going to be there every week getting people to tune into or not into their weekly show, which is their bread and butter. Just as much as WrestleMania is, just as much as any premium live event is. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it could happen. It would be interesting to see if that happens. But yeah, I think Brock really doesn't need a title. This is kind of a weird stance to have, but I feel like with Roman and Brock having the championships, it devalues the title, not because of the quality of their performance, but because they are booked in such a strong way that any contenders that they have that are not one another seem destined to lose.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that not only says something about the championship, but also about all the other competitors.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't raise anybody up. Either of the two of them having a championship doesn't raise anybody else up. And also I think Bobby Lashley is a very believable opponent for Brock Lesnar.
Oh yeah.
It's not like Brock looks weak if he loses to Bobby Lashley. And the fact that this is such an anticipated bout also makes me think that, Brock Lesnar can't win all the time. They got to know that. This, I think, would be the time for him to take the L.
It'll be interesting to see if that happens. So who is your pick for the men's Royal Rumble match?
Oh, that one doesn't get me quite as excited.
Yeah.
And I think it's because to me there isn't a clear winner. I don't know. Who's your pick?
Okay, if Roman loses the title,
yeah,
I could see Roman, and which, by the way, to me, that's the most boring, predictable outcome is Roman or Brock winning the Rumble. That's just it's like wasting money in the bank. It's like, why did we do all this just for them to get an opportunity when you could just say they had a title opportunity and everyone would believe it?
Right.
Alfred's been saying Johnny Knoxville. I don't think that's insane.
I don't think it is either, just because of the rub that WWE has gotten from doing these partnerships with mainstream media recently. The egg thing with Netflix, the zombies with the Halloween thing. I mean, they have gotten a lot of mainstream attention off of that, and getting those casual fans to remember, oh yeah, WWE exists. I mean, that's worth a lot to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, although I could see you could put Johnny versus Sammy at WrestleMania, that books itself. Apart from that, I mean, I'd really like to be surprised by the winner tomorrow. I don't want it to be someone who's held a championship or been in championship contention recently, but that does also
unless maybe Biggie.
Yeah, Biggie.
Except Biggie.
No, Biggie would be good. It would be good if they would put him back in that position credibly so quickly.
Right.
Well, it's tough, but that's the problem. If it's a wild card winner, I just don't think they're going to have a chance. It's easy to be so cynical about this.
Well, it is. And I think with the men's Rumble, there's more that could happen throughout the evening too, that could change up who we even see in the match. So that one, it's just a bigger question mark.
Brian Cyrus in the chat with the super chat is saying, if Seth wins tomorrow, is there any chance we see Kevin Owens winning the Rumble, or maybe he wins his title opportunity in Elimination Chamber?
Oh, I mean, I think that's something that people would get excited about, right?
Yeah. We had Kevin Owens versus Brock Lesnar. Yeah, the Becca well, did they do
It's
that
been
house
a
show?
while.
TV. Just searching that. I think that was a
Seems
house show
been a
thing.
while.
Yeah, that could be cool. I'd like to see
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, it could, and that would be another one that would have hardcore fans and casual fans both talking, right? It's unexpected.
I would love to see a legitimate Sami Zayn Brock Lesnar match at some point.
Yeah, keep your fingers crossed for that one.
Yeah, but
I
let
don't
Sammy
know.
really do his stuff during that,
Yeah.
not just have it be like a simple squash. Okay, so let's talk about the women's rumble. Who's your pick there?
My pick for the women's rumble is Bianca Belair. I
Yes.
think there is a lot to the story of her winning 2 years in a row. She got so shafted. A championship opportunity seems like it belongs to her more than any other woman on the roster. And I just love Bianca, and I think that would be great story leading up to WrestleMania. So I'm cheering for Bianca, but I think all the other little things that are happening in that match, Sonya and Naomi, Summer and Natty, I just think that we are going to come out of the Royal Rumble talking about more from the women's Rumble match than just who the winner is. And I think it's going to have more ramifications for the future of the talent.
It would be really interesting if the story that came out of the Rumble was Ronda versus Asuka, and that's not even for a title. Like if that's, I don't think they're bold enough to do that.
No,
Because what would that do for the other women's title? I mean, that would steal the attention away from everything.
true, but that's the Rumble is kind of the only place where you can do that, right? Because there can be someone can interfere, or between Asuka, we can set up those storylines, and it will make sense.
Yeah.
Right. If Asuka prevents Ronda from winning in some way, shape, or form, or the reverse, there's a lot they could do with that.
I think a returning Bailey could win. But no, I like your pick of Bianca. I mean, it seems like Bianca needs a little bit of a reboot. I think and this would give her that momentum to have that chance to be really credible in the title picture again.
Right. And again, believability. She is the EST. She should win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't predetermined, my pick would still be Bianca Belair.
Yeah. I don't know if it wasn't predetermined. I think Rhea Ripley just has the mix of athleticism, physique, and just power. Rhea Ripley, I think, could beat up the majority of people in WWE, male or female, like in a shoot fight. Yeah, she just is very menacing.
She would love to hear you say that.
I mean, but you believe it, right? It's like there's some performers that you go, okay, well, they have the speed, they have the agility. I think about like when Bailey faced Nia Jax in NXT, and it's like, okay, you have a smaller opponent who has to be faster, and then you have an opponent that has a lot of strength, and you have to balance it off. But no, Rhea just looks like she could just go out there and just dominate. I mean, give me like Rhea versus Shayna in a shoot fight, that would be intense. That would be the most incredible matchup. I mean, Charlotte has great athleticism, but I mean, something about Rhea and Shayna just look like they could throw down.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Maybe they'll get their chance. And you mentioned Charlotte there, and I think she's obviously a top pick as well to win the Women's Royal Rumble. But again, she's someone that everybody's going to have their attention on her, right? Every superstar is going to want to be the one who eliminated Charlotte Flair. So again, it's very believable that 5 superstars all go after her right away at the beginning, toss her over the top, and she doesn't look any weaker because of it, because they all ganged up on her. So I think this is an opportunity for Charlotte Flair to lose in a way that doesn't affect her.
Yeah, and it's interesting with this and her entering as the SmackDown Women's Champion, because in my mind, the most boring outcome to this is Charlotte wins the Rumble as champion and then goes out and gives a speech about challenging herself, and then Ronda Rousey comes out because she wasn't able to prep or train, and they just sort of say, you, me, WrestleMania, and that's how we go off the air. Like, to me, that's just the laziest way to get to that match.
Yeah, I didn't like that, Glenn.
No, it's so unsatisfying, which is why I don't put it past them at all.
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah. See, and that's why, like what I was talking about with Rhonda, it sort of feels like she comes in and ruins everything,
Yeah,
doesn't it? It does. And I just don't want that to happen.
I know. And that's part of it too. It's like, why does it have to be for a title? But it was the same thing.
Yeah.
When they headlined Mania, which feels like forever ago, but it was the same thing. Oh, we have to have the Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions, so they had to do the gymnastics to get the title off Asuka and onto
Right.
Charlotte, and then have it be for all the belts. And I don't know. I mean, can you have a main event of WrestleMania or a main event or a co-main event that doesn't have to have a title involved? To me, that's bold thinking. But again, it's the idea of you look at the other point of view and you say, well, it's because we don't have any championship matches that are worthy of that. So therefore giving the title on the line gives it stakes.
I think it makes the matchup seem even more important.
Yeah.
The story, the feud, the stakes, just because there isn't a championship involved, but these two competitors still want to tear each other apart on the grandest stage of them all, because of some great story that we've been given. I mean, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. And it kind of brings it back to feeling again like it's not predetermined, feeling like it's a little old school, like anything can happen, like it isn't just about who is scripted to have the belt next week. You know what I mean?
Well, like Winston Thompson in the chat saying it'd be dope if Mickey James eliminated Charlotte. That would be dope. That would never happen.
It would never happen, but that would be pretty cool. And I kind of forgot about Mickey. That's another great
Yeah.
story that's involved in all that too. She's going to make a good showing, I'm sure. And I think one of the other things we should predict is whether or not she will be allowed to come out with her Knockouts championship.
Well, I'll tell you, Raj thinks this is an idiotic prediction. I said it jokingly, but I'm talking myself into it. If the more they put on the Knockouts championship, and if Mickey eliminates Charlotte, WWE is 100% acquiring Impact or doing something with Impact, because there is no other way they would put that over that much.
Right. Absolutely.
No.
There is a part of me that thinks they are really trying to do right by Mickey.
Yeah.
And that includes letting her come out with the championship, letting her say whatever she wants, letting her wear whatever she wants, and be, the second to last person eliminated from the Rumble. She certainly has earned that.
Yeah. I mean, but she's part of the reason I'm tuning in tomorrow. I mean, I think that there's just, it's amazing how even with the things they've announced, there's unpredictability in that, given what are traditionally is a very surprise-filled match. So I'm looking forward to it. Those are our predictions for tomorrow. Let's talk about Rampage. So all of this was taped Wednesday. Oh, and after the live Rampage last week, going back to a tape show.
It's tough. It's tough. The audience tonight, the Rampage, the fans looked dead. There were several times where I was like, is that fake crowd noise? Because nobody's even got their mouth open. It was a lot of the same signs that we saw on Dynamite. And there is a less exciting feeling to it when you can tell immediately that it's not live. And I don't mind suspending my disbelief. Tell me it's live. If I can't tell that it isn't. You know what I mean? But yeah, it sort of feels tired, and Rampage needs to feel fresh. It needs to feel different from Dynamite. It needs to feel like its own show, like really build its own identity. And being at the taped after Dynamite, with the same crowd in the same city does not give it that distinction.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I thought this was actually a great opening match with Jon Moxley versus Anthony Bowens. Max Caster in tow. Loved the freestyle. Thought it was a really good setup. And I love that Moxley just giving Bowens such an opportunity tonight that this could have easily been a squash. And this went for a very long time, was very competitive. Moxley looked great as always, but Bowens really got a chance to shine.
He did. And didn't you think that Moxley looked like he was having so much fun?
Yeah.
Like he really looked like he was enjoying himself. There was even a couple times where he was selling or he was looking in pain, but it was almost like he couldn't help but have a smile on his face. And I think that says a lot too about the person that he's going up against. You know what I mean? That he was so excited to get in there and really tear it up with Anthony Bowens.
Yeah.
And yeah, what an incredible opportunity for him. You know, with the Acclaimed, it's sort of felt like, okay, they want us to love them. They want us to know them. They've been used well. You know, they could kind of just be treated as a gimmick since they're so good at coming out and doing the thing with the mic. But this was really an opportunity to remind us that they're both really serious in-ring competitors as well. And I mean, people were going to get into this and it would have opened the show, you know, Moxley's match back no matter who it was, but this was a great choice for an opponent for him. And I watched every second of it. I thought it was great.
This was really good, especially I feel like Rampage is a show that has suffered from so much sameness. And
yes, 4 matches, same segments, backstage interviews, in and out all the time, and then Mark Henry's backstage and the split screen, and so formulaic.
And same factions, and you know, we're seeing the same people. So this was cool. This was a really good opening. I like this. And then this seemed random, like I was almost doing booking Mad Libs and drawing names out of a hat, but I never thought I would see a promo with Andrade El Idolo and Darby Allin trading.
Yeah, you know, Darby, anytime that he speaks, it's like a little, you're like, oh, yeah, he can talk. Just because he does the silent brooding thing so well. So it always just kind of throws me for a loop. And then, and him and the same with Andrade. And it just, it was a head scratcher.
I like Sting a lot, but I think Sting has held Darby back given how striking and enigmatic those early Darby promos were.
Yeah.
And getting to dive into his character. I mean, I don't want him to be the boy wonder sidekick.
No, he was so over on his own. I've been confused since the beginning why they even really paired the two of them together. And didn't think that it would last this long. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, but this was cool tonight. Curious where that's going to go. And then we had FTR with Tully Blanchard versus Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson with Arn Anderson having a match. What did you think of this?
I think that this was something that could have been so good. They could have built so much storyline up here with Tully and Arn and Arn and his son. And there was so much there. This could have been like the first big, great feud of Rampage, right? This could have gone on for at least many weeks, maybe even a couple months. Like they really could have built something here with the history of the Four Horsemen. And I mean, it's so just what AEW fans love. Right. Yeah. There was so much potential there for all the things that are the reason why we love AEW. And it just felt like this was kind of blowing it all off. You know, a great match. But I think that if they would have given this a little more time and given it a little more story, we could have really believed that Brock and Lee would have a chance up against FTR.
Yeah. Yeah. And FTR, I mean, consistently looks very strong, so them getting the win was not surprising at all. Followed by a hype video next week, one-on-one, Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez. Are you excited about this?
Yes, I am. That's one that feels like it's been building, right? You know, it does have a little bit of a story there. And man, both of those women are just so scary. Yeah. They are both so intimidating that I just feel like it's going to be an explosive match. You know, neither one of them are afraid to really take it there. It feels like it's going to be one of those matches where you watch and you go, do they really hate each other? Are they really killing each other? And just no, they're just that good. And they're just willing to put their bodies on the line that hard for our entertainment. And I think that may be the match of the week next week.
That better get the golden placement of opening Rampage next week. Yeah. This better not be buried halfway through the show and only go for 5-10 minutes.
No.
Yeah, this deserves as much time as a lot of these other opening matches have gotten, and I'm so looking forward to it. Flip side, tonight Jade Cargill had a relatively brief match, brief but intense, against Julia Hart. Julia still sporting an eye patch from the missed attack by Malachi Black weeks ago.
Yeah, you know, I had a lot of problems with this when there's so much conversation about whether Jade is ready, whether she is a strong contender, whether her matches live up to the opportunity she's been given. When there's so much of that conversation, why put her in the ring with Julia Hart?
Yeah.
Why not a veteran? Why not someone stronger? Why not someone who could make her look fantastic? This at times tonight looked like a couple of trainees at the PC trying to figure things out. And I think Jade has improved so much. She clearly works her butt off because of how much she's improved, and she'll definitely get there. And she is a fantastic champion, and she has all the other things that really make a company money and bring eyes to the promotion. And that is even more important than being fantastic in the ring. But this did her no favors tonight. And poor Julia Hart, you know, her gimmick, the way it is something you have to be careful with, because she can seem like such a joke when you're throwing her in a trash can and you're putting an eye patch on her, and she's still got the eye patch. And it's just, where is she supposed to go from here? You know, she really does not look strong. And I don't know how they could even begin to build her up again. You know, she's a cheerleader valet at this point, and I think she could do so much better than that. And I hate to say that.
Well, on top of all that too, I mean, like, this seems like the most weirdly obvious thing, but man, issues with depth perception, like wrestling in an eye patch. I mean, you don't even think about stuff like that. And if you're not super experienced, that could really mess you up.
Yeah, and she's finally getting this championship opportunity, and she can't even go out there and really do her best and really show people what she can do because she's doing it with one eye. Again, it just makes her look silly, really, at the end of the day. And if we're still trying to push the Malachi Black thing, you know, and if it's about her association with the Varsity Blondes, still, then let her just do that and finish that out. There just was no reason for her to have this opportunity tonight yet.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just disappointed.
No,
I'm just disappointed for her.
Varsity Blondes, and I like all of the talent involved in that group, but that feels like the most B-level ruthless aggression gimmick. Very Spirit Squad, just kind of, they're making the best of it, you know, and I think that there's so much talent there. But yeah, this is not, matches like this don't do anyone favors if you're on the losing end.
No, not at all. No, it doesn't. And I always want to root for the women to get TV time and to get matches like this. But I just think it would have done the title and Jade a lot more if it would have been a different opponent, and we could have let Julia not get buried so hard.
Yeah, and this is why, if you're not going to have it be a veteran and have them go toe to toe, this is why you have enhancement talent who aren't going to be damaged by an embarrassing loss.
Exactly.
You know, so after that, and Jade is now 26-0. We then had.
I do want to say I did appreciate how the commentators will not call her that B. Because I don't like that when men use that word, especially, it is weird. So I appreciated that they had the good sense, just be like that. You know what? Like, even we're scared. Like, she can call herself that, but I think she might come over here and beat my ass if I do, you know. And so I could just appreciate that they had the sense not to say that.
No, absolutely. And then we had Private Party with Matt Hardy versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus with Christian Cage for the AEW Tag Team Championship in the main event tonight. What'd you think of this match?
There were some moments where I went, hey, could Private Party win this?
Yeah.
You know, I went, hey, are Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy just kind of interim champions? Like, are they done already? Did they get their opportunity? Because this really felt like something where it could be anybody's game.
As someone who, I feel like I've been a fan of them since Jump, now I'm just bummed every time I see Christian with them, and I'm like, yep, that's the Marco stunt. They were like, he's the part that's not working. You know, and it bums me out now, which is not what I want to feel when I see them, you know?
No, it doesn't. And you know what, as far as Marco's stunt goes, I hope that I think he will keep trying to be successful in the world of entertainment. I think he's got a lot of spirit. And I think that maybe that just wasn't the right thing for him. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of excited for him and to hear what he does. Sometimes people need a door to slam in their face to figure out which other door to open. You know what I mean? So I'm not really sad for Marco Stunt. I'm kind of excited for him. I think he'll jump right back. But yeah, and Christian and Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, they don't need Christian. Christian doesn't need them. I've been confused by that since it started. I guess it worked out well that then you had him and Matt Hardy. But again, what is Matt Hardy doing just being a manager?
And with Private Party, I feel like he takes away some attention from them. I don't know. It's a fine line to walk as a manager where you're there to enhance, the talent you're managing, but not upstage them. And I feel that, and which by the way, that really says something about a Private Party, that they could be upstage, but Matt Hardy is like a legend, and so has so much personality in whatever he does. Like, yeah, you could get anyone else and it would be enhancement, but with Matt, it's a little overshadowing at times.
Yeah, and you know what? I guess Private Party did need something. They did
Yeah.
need someone to be set apart. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy did not.
Yeah.
They do not need anybody. And with Private Party, they have really cool T-shirts. But what I've been saying about them since the beginning, and I would be happy to hear if our live viewers think that this is off, but they just always have felt like a Street Profits knockoff. And I know they were doing their thing long before, and they've been together and they've had this gimmick, since before we saw the Street Profits on TV. But if someone beats you to TV, you got to change things up a little bit. From the way that they move in the ring to the gimmick and then the partying and all of that, it feels like it's already being done and already been done. And I'm sure there are creative guys who could come up with something else. They just feel like a knockoff, and I know that they're not. But they got to do something to set themselves apart a little bit.
Yeah, it is a little sort of Marvel DC, and I wonder if on the WWE side, if that helped Street Profits a little bit, where they were like, okay, we've got this act. There's another act that there's some similarities between them. Let's push ours, as much as possible, and get that, and be seen as the dominant version of that character in the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, someone may have seen Private Party and gone, "Hey, we should do that exact thing." That could be the case. But if someone beats you to TV, you gotta switch it up a little bit.
Well, I mean, people talk about this during the Monday Night Wars. It's like, oh yeah, I really like that bald guy that kicks everyone's asses, and it's like, well, which one are you talking about, Goldberg or Stone Cold Steve Austin? But they're still two very distinctly different characters once you get past the surface level, and they were booked differently. And I think that's all it would really take. But I don't know, the Matt Hardy pairing, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying that, like, it's almost, Matt Hardy is not there to complement it. I think he almost overtakes it a little bit at times.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And of course, Matt Hardy's going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course.
But this was a good match. And you're right. I mean, I thought Private Party could have won the championships here. It was interesting that Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy won and then were attacked by Gun Club. And we saw Gun Club standing tall when we went off the air. So we see where that's all going now.
Yeah, and you know what? They're ones that are bringing some mainstream eyes too with the E show that I haven't watched yet, but I'm determined this weekend to sit down and catch up on that one because I think that's pretty cool. There's a lot of power in that mainstream and the pop culture and having that synergy going. It all worked very well for Total Divas.
Oh yeah, seriously. They stopped that finally, right?
Yeah. I don't believe it's been officially canceled, but they pretty much said it's dead. And it's been a few years. What NBC Universal and E is under that family. What they're doing sometimes now is bringing back some of those shows as exclusive to Peacock Network. So I kind of have my fingers crossed. Maybe we'll see Total Divas on Peacock Network in the future.
Hey, I just want them to bring back Swerved. I think there's still a lot of creativity left to explore.
And it's been long enough now where people have forgotten about it. Like, they could probably set up some good stunts again.
The network was so good, not necessarily when it launched, but like year 2 or 3 where they were just tossing, like, for what the WWE seemed like stupid money and just putting on these different shows. It was so much fun. And I recognize most of it did not catch on, which is why they were all canceled. And we don't really have the WWE network in any way, shape, or form anymore. And it's just so unfortunate because it was a lot of fun while it lasted.
And it felt like an exclusive place for wrestling fans to go, right? Like, now it's like, oh, I go to Peacock and I choose WWE, but like, it doesn't feel like a club or something.
We don't even have, there's like 4 WWE avatars on Peacock, Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's enough WWE on it.
No. And with the numbers that came out this week, Peacock has WWE to thank for like 1.4 million of their subscribers or something like that. So that's huge.
Yeah, it was not the Punky Brewster reboot that was bringing everyone to Peacock, apparently.
Oh, I forgot about that. Has that come out now?
It did. It came out.
Alexa on it.
It came out last year. We watched like 2 episodes, so we were like, this is okay. Saved by the Bell reboot, however, is fantastic.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Like that show is too good for what it is.
I know.
So well
I know. And it was my favorite back in the day. And now, and it burns off so quick. It's like 8 half-hour episodes and then it's over.
Well, I don't know what's better. What's better, Christy, that, getting it all out of the way in a weekend, or just 52 weeks a year, 2 shows a week. It never ends. There are no breaks.
No seasons.
Yeah, no seasons. That's why it's so weird when they're like, oh, it's the season premiere of Monday Night Raw. Like, no, it's not.
No. A season premiere is when a show goes away for 3 months.
Yeah, we don't have finales with like a murder mystery, or we don't have new characters at the start of the new season. Yeah, give me that. And I think that would improve things. But all in all, this was a good night for wrestling. But yeah, this is kind of Christmas Eve feeling to tomorrow night being Rumble Day. Like, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are. I've seen some really positive stuff about everything that's going on for the show, and I like that energy. It felt like sometimes it feels like it's the cool thing to crap on WWE and creative and whatever they're doing. And I think anytime that they can distract people enough from the fun of that, because what we're watching on the show is actually fun and entertaining us, that we don't need to entertain ourselves with all that kind of negative talk, like, then they're doing a good job. And that's how this weekend feels with Royal Rumble.
Oh, totally. And I think the odds are stacked in their favor. Like I've always said, it's almost impossible to screw up the Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, or WrestleMania. It's like those are the 3 easiest pay-per-views. Cool. Well, so great hanging out with you tonight. Everyone can find you on Twitter at Christy Reports. And anything you want to plug? Anything you're working on lately you're excited about?
No, I've got some new stuff coming up soon. I really am determined to make some positive content in this world and some positive news stuff, and to just really lean into things that we can all have fun with and love together. So that's what I'm working on. And I really do love to interact with everybody. So connect with me at Christy Reports. And this was so fun, Glenn.
Yeah, this was great. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. Issa and Alfred will be back on Tuesday. And I do have to plug for Yellow Jackets Buzz. Issa and I interviewed today Eduardo Sanchez, who directed the Yellow Jackets season finale, and also a little movie called The Blair Witch Project. And that episode will be dropping tomorrow on the Yellow Jackets Buzz feed.
Awesome. I'll be listening.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Happy Royal Rumble Eve to you all. We will catch you back here next time on the Wrestling